Hello everyone. In today's episode, we're gonna take a look how to use nest.js. Pay attention that it's not a next, it's nest.js. You can misinterpret them. So it's a JavaScript framework for backend. Of course, you could use Express or what do you like more, but what is the coolness of this one? Because it has the similar structure as Angular, and we walk through and create a simple API, just enough to use for your application. So it's gonna be 5 requests, 5 different type. Actually, it's 4 types, but we're gonna do 5 requests. And also for this, we're gonna use PostgreSQL database. It's possible to use Mongo with Mongoose for NestJS, but I just prefer the SQL types of database, so that's why I choose this one. But of course, you can use any kind of DB that you like. And so we're gonna create post, get, patch, and delete, and to get requests, to get all data, and get by ID. So it's gonna be really simple, and as I told, it's gonna be enough for you to start working with it. If you like what I'm doing, please leave a comment, subscribe, and like button, of course, but it's better to leave a comment. I would like it more. So enjoy the episode and see you in a second. Let's start from setting our environment. For backend, we're gonna use NestJS. It's a really popular framework right now. Why I choose this one and not other? Because it has really a kind of common backend structure, not backend, but the same almost as Angular looks like, and it's also possible to use TypeScript. So for me, it's easier to work with it. And also for our feedback app, I was needed to have an API, so I decided why not. First thing that we need to do is to install NestJS globally. I already did this, so that's why let me find the right folder, fit like this. After installing it globally, you need to do this command. You will have nest available in the command line, but do not forget that you need to kind of reopen it. And then we're gonna do nest. So it has a CLI support, really useful. And let's call it server. So it's automatically define the structure for your app and whatever you need. Also for backend or DB, I'm gonna use PostgreSQL and not Mongo or Mongoose as a package, because SQL structure is more common for me instead of not SQL DBs. So I just use this one as an example. To use it, you need to go to ElephantSQL. It's a website where you could online service where you could use PostgreSQL. To use it, you need, but it could be another section of our video of we set up the basic structure for application. So NestJS is here. It was installed successfully, and we just jump over. So what do we have here? It has a basic structure with app module. Yes, if you know something about Angular, it's gonna be pretty the same. So it's app module. Here we kind of bootstrapping our main module, so not bad to use. Also, I decided to use TypeORM. It's for SQL databases, and also it could be used with Mongo, but it's not a stable version right now. What is why I like this? Because it has support of entities and providers and connection kind of uh, to. So what the usage of this when you want to have a relationship between objects, you need to use some ORM provider, and TypeORM one of them. It has a good documentation with it. TypeORM and pretty wide usage. So it supports entities, different relationship between entities, one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-one, support of validations, etc., etc. So pretty good thing to use. Also, what we're gonna need else? So we need to install TypeORM and support for Postgre, TypeORM and Postgre. TypeORM, PostgreSQL. So Postgres, as you can see, everything is here. So we just gonna install PG package, another one which we needed, and TypeORM. And we're gonna be good to go further. Let's just set up this one. Okay. And to run our application, here already some commands available. If you do not need to watch right now, you just run start and it's gonna build your app and start it. If you need to watch kind of for development, you just type npm run start dev. So all these commands available here. And our app gonna be built and in watch mode. So here should be available and you can find this hello world. Where is it? Get hello. So cp hello. And as you can see in app server the method which is we triggered from get hello and cp hello. Basic initialization is done. Oh, whoa. So let's connect our DB. So first of all, what you need to do, it's I'm using ElephantSQL. It's kind of provider for Postgre. To sign up, you can use your GitHub or Google account. I already created one for me. And once you log in, you can create a new instance. Choose a name, feed DB, let's call it. The free plan, just for development, it's gonna be enough. Text you don't need any, and choose the closest region to you. For me, it's gonna be, and you could choose Amazon cluster or whatever you want. I will choose, what is it? Here's São Paulo, no. Azure, what do we have? Northern Stockholm. Stockholm is okay for us because I'm from Ukraine. So create instance takes several seconds, and here you have all information that you will need. Then it's our application, and the first thing that we're gonna do is create our entity. So as I explained before, nest.js supports entities, and on TypeORM website you could find the example with entity. It's here kind of straightforward that you need to create class, just add decorator entity from TypeORM and create it, and it's gonna be a primary column. Other stuff, there are also some options available that you need to call it like this, some validations, rules, types, and etc. etc. So we're gonna use our Angular app as a reference. Where is it? Uh, it's somewhere here. So we have a mock for our feedback entity. We're gonna use this as an example, but one thing that we don't do today is create a relationship between entities. I'm just put comments count kind of basis for this, and later on we could change this because here we're requiring to have that one feedback could have many comments, but each comment could have many replies, and also we need to map them to the user who put this. So let's create our first entity. For this, we're gonna create a folder just to entities, entity, just to keep them in one place. Then we're gonna call it feedback.entity.ts. And as before, we need to create class. So it's gonna be export class feedback like this. And also we need to have entity decorator here from TypeORM. This one we're gonna fix. What do you not like? Okay, let's move further. And here we need to have some columns. So let's define our columns. One of them is going to be ID, and as all we might know that ID, once we post the entity or add a new object into our database, we need to IDs to be unique and generate them automatically. So primary, we need to add here decorator that it's primary generated column like this. A lot of some things. What you don't like? Pixel. Prettier. It marks everything. What do you want? Okay, we need definitely to do a fix for this. Prettier. And I'm not sure why it's gonna just disable prettier, and our file not gonna be pretty anymore, but it's okay. It's not the main point. So let's move further. Let's change that. Okay, like this. 4 tabs. Prefer. The next column is gonna be, what is it? So title, category, and so on, so on. So title, it's gonna be string, and we need to put that it's just a simple column, our decorator. Also the same thing gonna be with description. What else is string? Okay, nothing else at the string. Also, let's define that in column we could pass some options. Here we could define the type of this, so it's going to be just text, and one of the option is default value, and let's put it like this. So there are a lot of options that a bunch of types that you could define, and also a lot of options to move on with. The most, not the most difficult, let's define first of all simple types. So upwards also gonna be a number, and comments in our case gonna be a number. So here upwards number, and column decorator, and by default it's gonna be 0, because from the beginning we do not have anything. And also the same thing is gonna be for comments for now. Comments. Okay. One thing that I want to share with you is types that we can use here. So let's take a look at our mock. So status here, it's a enum, and category also a enum. So let's define them. We could create here also another folder called models, and inside of it we're gonna create in the same thing as we did in Angular, we're gonna create data model.js, and inside of it let's define our status enum, for example. So here we're gonna have in Angular project enums, and we just could copy this from Angular and pass it here. And what do you don't like? Prettier for top bits. Fix all prettier problems. We need to have why you not transcend. End of line, outer. Not sure what the issue with this do we have, but yes, lint. It's possible to. Okay, let's disable for now. So we basically copied our Yanam from Angular project. It's a one cool thing, which is really awesome to have. And then we're gonna define our column here. It's gonna be column, and the name for this is status. Status. Then we define it as a string because we're gonna store string value. But here in options, we're gonna define some of them. So type is gonna be enum. It's possible to have it here. And if you provide wrong value, you get an error. Then if it's type enum, we need to provide it status enum. And also the default value. Default, what we're gonna choose? Status enum suggestion, because it's not gonna have any value. So we defined just our entity model. Let's move further since I kind of fixed the problem with the ESLint. I choose here elef and just rerun the command here, this one. And also I ran the command restart lint service. It seems so far we're good. So the next thing that we're gonna do is to define a new module. It's gonna be database. So let's here create database just to keep everything in the same place. Database module.js. And here what we're gonna do is define a new module like this, and also we need to do an export class database module like this. And here we're gonna have providers. We do not have anything so far, but we're gonna have. And also exports to be able to export one of them. So if we do not have, let's create it. And provider basically need to be able to connect to our database. Here, providers and database provider. Yes. Here we're gonna do the next thing. We're gonna define a variable export const database provider, which is equal to, we could have here several. It should have provide option, and let's define the name database connection. And it's not good to have it as I put it right now. It's better to have enum in variable some, or not enum but environment variable, to keep this unique and just do not change it by mistake. Also here we do use factory And this one is going to be, it's an example just for provider. So as you can see here, we need to provide provider and this kind of an example. So database providers use factory, and it's going to be async and arrow function like this. And here we're going to do await create connection. So by this we creating a connection to our database, but create connection we need to import it from TypeORM, not from net. So keep in mind that here we could do a mistake. And to connect to our DB, we need to provide several things like these, and here we should have a comma now. Wait here. Okay. So type, which type of DB we're gonna be using, and also you could find all this information in connection options. So what is connection options? Using config. So as you can see, there are several ways to connect to it, but I find out this the most, which I'm showing, the most useful for myself, but you could go in another way and just to try find out something else. So type is going to be Postgres. Then we're gonna have here several things. Host. Let me copy some of these things. Postgres. It's not in config way. Okay. Post. Okay. Here some, just to avoid typing a lot. Host is a duplicate. Port, we need to keep it. We need username, password, database, port. Also, let's go step by step. Okay. So fix all prettier problems. Yes. To find a host, host is the server, so you need to copy this line. Host. Port, I'm not sure how to find it here, but I was using 5432. As far as I seen in guidelines and different documentation, it's the most convenient. I'm not really sure. We will see what does it mean. Then username, we need to use this one, user and default database. Also keep in mind that database here needs to be the same as your username. Do not put feed.db, the instance name here. So it's one thing, database and username, that you need to keep the same. And password you could copy from here. So as you can see, connection in place. And we should be able successfully connect to DB. As far as I've seen, we connected, but there are no other information. Another one thing that we need to provide here is entities. So we just need to have the list of entities here, and one of them is our entity feedback, comma. So we should be connected. Also, I've installed pgadmin to be able to connect to our database. How to do it? It's just after install, here you will see servers, and Postgre 14, you create new server, feed DB servers, and you need to provide a connection. Almost the same thing as we did here. Host, as you can see, port. Maintenance database means the same as your username, and password, just the same thing. Save password, save. So we should be able to connect, and as you can see, here are our connection, and there you will see a bunch of databases. How to find your? By your username. It's a huge list of the names, but one of them should be yours. It's a strange thing. What's an VH? WH. It's a bit strange, but it is what it is. WH, here it is. And actually we would be able to copy, to open it, and to find our tables, we need to go to schemas, and here tables, but nothing here. And to auto-generate it, we need to put here synchronize, and if you put true, it's gonna be automatically synchronized and created. So right now we could refresh it, and we should see our table, but it's not here. Why? And why it's not here? Strange thing. Let's refresh schemas. Ah, stupid me. We didn't use our providers. Okay. So first of all, we need to use it. Yes? Yes. To use it, we just put here database provider, import, and the same way we put it here, and we should be able to connect to it. I hope so. But we didn't use our module. To use our module, we need to create feedbacks folder here and actually use it and import. Let's create a folder for our feedbacks. Bunch of folders, let's say. Feedbacks. It's gonna be the one place where we could keep module, controller, and service for feedbacks. So let's call it feedbacks dot module.ts. The same way we're gonna define our module. Here we provide the imports, and we provide here database module. Yes. Also, we're gonna need controllers a bit later, and providers also we're gonna need a bit later. Also, we need to export class feedbacks module. Here are a few things that we need to fix. Fix all prettier problems. Okay. And the last step almost to be able to generate our table in database, we need to provide our feedbacks module into app module, kind of structure like this we have. So to do this, we just do this, and we good should be, but yeah, should we connect? Yep, dependency, initialize it. Let's take a look what we're gonna have in our PG admin tables. our feedback table. Yeah. And it's a bit slow, but as you can see, here all our structures, status, and also the one cool thing that, as you remember, we have here enum, and enums automatically created in where it should be somewhere here. I've just forgot. It's primary key, types, should be in types. Feedback status enum. As you can see, it's here that we have a dependency per it. So our database table was automatically created. Also, let's add another one field here. We're gonna copy category enum, and then we put it in the same place. Back all we do not need here, and let's add one more column. It's gonna be category. Here we're gonna use category enum. Also here we're gonna define what is gonna be. By default, let's put enhancement. And after a load, we should be able to see the new column category here. It's a bit slow, but it is what it is. Columns. What do we have here? Category. Just happened automatically because our tables synchronized. Start working with our feedbacks. So the next thing that we're gonna define another provider, and why do we need this, is to be able to work with repository. Repository is a thing which allows you to work with what? With database. So if you need to find out one, just provides several methods to use. Ability to delete, find all, find by ID, and etc, etc, etc. Pretty useful thing. So let's define our feedback provider. So, and we need provider per entity and table. So basically it's the same thing, entity and table. So here let's create feedback provider.ts, and it's gonna have almost the same thing as for database, but in a bit other way. So feedback provider, type of it, provider equal, but yeah, should be like this. Then it's equal and like this. And here we're gonna have provide also in caps feedbacks repository. And here use factory, and factory, actually we need to define here connection. Type of this also connection from TypeORM, and here we need connection this type here should be double N connection dot connect connection get repository, and we should provide here our entity feedback entity like this, comma, and inject. And why I said that we need to be careful with this, because inject is going to be the same name that we used here. So we need to be really careful or put this into our env or into some enum to store all providers name. So yeah. And after this we can move further, and this one thing let's also create, where we don't need, no, we can inject our feedback provider here. Another thing that we need to do into app module is define the router that we have here. So for this, it's a NestJS thing. We need to define router module and register, and just to have a URL common for all path. And let's do it API feedbacks. So all our API calls gonna start once we want to receive for feedbacks, gonna start with this. And also here we need to define module which gonna provide all this information, and it's gonna be feedback module like this. So we're done with app module. We still need feedback. We don't need this one thing, not need. Okay, so let's create our service. Because we in control. The most interesting part starts from here. So we need one more file, feedbacks dot controller dot js, and also feedbacks dot service dot js, like this. About service, let's just create a class here, export class feedbacks service. This also class should be injectable, and fix all preacher for now. We need to inject our service into feedback service into our module. And regarding controller, we need to do the following. So we need also put a decorator controller and export class feedbacks controller. This. Fix this and provide it here, feedbacks controller. And we're ready to go and create our first API call. So what we need to do here, constructor, we need to provide our feedback service here. And as you can see, it's almost the same as in Angular uh, application. So in component, for example, we'll also have a constructor. We need to provide it, and so on, so on. So looks pretty the same for me, like this. And what we're gonna do first? Let's create get API call to get all feedbacks. For now, it's empty, but this is what it is. Get all feedbacks. We do not have any parameters here. We're gonna return promise with type feedback. It's gonna be our entity, and return this service and get feedbacks. We do not have this method so far, but we're gonna have it soon. And inside of our service, we're gonna just define it like this. Also, we need to do to use our repository, we need to inject it here. So we need in our constructor, we using inject here. Also, we need to provide the provider name. So it's gonna be this as a string, and then we just need to define a variable. It's gonna be private, so it's feedback repository, and the type of it repository from TypeORM and feedback here. Fix and what you don't like. Not sure, but here we're gonna do return this feedback repository, find and find, and we do not have, if we want to receive all, just use find and that's it. What you don't like? Properly allowed implementation. Private blah blah blah. Like this. Yeah, forgot. And what is going on? Yeah, we need to specify types that we're gonna return, promise and feedback. It's gonna be a collection of them, and here I forgot to specify this and this. Get from NestJS. Yes. So right now, get repository cannot blah blah blah. What is going on? Really stupid. I find out what is the problem. I put brackets here but didn't put a return, and that's why I had an issue. Yeah, because of it. Stupid. What to say? So we need to get feedbacks, and this one here. So right now in the Postman we will be able, I assume, to get API feedbacks empty array. Yes. So let's quickly try to add post to add feedback. In service, you can do it really fast. And this also should be a thing. So here we're gonna do async add feedback. We're gonna receive feedback here. Type was feedback. We're gonna return promise, and after insert, it's insert result. It's a TypeORM type. So, and here we need to return this feedback repository, insert if you don't need to do any validation or check something. So it's just like that. And in controller, what we're gonna deal with is we need to do post. For this, we here use another decorator and create. Let's call it like this. So what we're gonna receive here? Here we're gonna have in body decorator. We should get feedback. Type feedback, and then this service add like this, and we need return. We should be able to build everything. Let's do post here. Let's keep it and do post here. Feedbacks, post, body, and row. And here we need, let's grab something from mock data. And here comments. One. Like this, and journal server. Okay. Null value in column title. What does it mean? Violates null constraint. Okay, let's take a look what we console log feedback. Let's take a look what we receive here. Empty object. Because here we should application JSON send. Okay, everything is fine. This we can see raw title, something wrong with the title. Title, why title is not here? What we have in our entity. Get. Oh no, title is here. But why it's without title, don't know. 3, okay. So get is working, post is working. Need just to add a few more API calls. but it's not gonna be difficult because we can do one by one. So I would like to add all methods in the service for now, and then just use them. So the next one is gonna be find one. We're gonna receive a number here, and gonna return promise, and we should return here feedback. Like this, and return this feedback repository, find one, and just provide an ID, and by this requirement it's gonna work as it is. Also, I want to do here async update, and we need to update by ID, and also another parameter with be feedback here for update. And the type is gonna be promise, and we're gonna return feedback as before. And here just few things to deal with. So I'm gonna add valid kind of validation to do. So feedback to update. First of all, we're gonna try to find if await find one is exist. If yes, if feedback to update equal define it, then we need to throw new not found exception. In NestJS a lot of exceptions like this, but yeah, I just want to make sure that this feedback repository update and by ID our feedback like this, and here return this find one ID like this. And the next one is gonna be delete. It's smaller, but still, so we don't need to update nothing. We just use here find feedback repository and delete by ID. And here we do not have this one thing. Delete, and this gonna be delete result. Only not like this, but from TypeORM, yes. Let's add all this thing in our control. So the next one, get by ID, is gonna be that we need in our decorator provide get by ID. Let's call it get one feedback. And here promise feedback, it's gonna be just one thing. And here get what's the name? Find one, and because it's gonna be by ID, we need to use param decorator here. The name of param is gonna be ID, and here is gonna be string by default because it's gonna be just URL, and you cannot get from URL non-string type, and we just convert it to number like this. And we should be able to find one. So we had a 3. Yeah. Let's try to add one more thing here. Title 2, 11, Okay, ID4, if we use it like this, okay, and should receive 4, 4. Yeah, working as expected. Also here somewhere console log I forgot to remove. Yeah, another one on which we're gonna work is patch. Also receive an ID here. Update feedback, let's call it. Also we're gonna have param, just copy paste. Then and also we're gonna have, as for post, we're gonna have feedback here. And we're gonna return promise feedback. So here we're gonna do return please service update and just pass number ID and feedback. That's it for patch, and the last one is gonna be delete, also by ID. Delete ID and delete feedback. Param ID promise no, and here delete. Okay, so let's do here, instead of post we're gonna do patch. Let's just for ID4 update the title to update it after a patch. This copy send comma, and let's get it. Title to update after patch, almost patch, but and I'll go and delete it. So we want to delete the fourth item, affected 200, affected 1, and we got only one item left. Whew. It wasn't easy. We faced some issues, but as you can see, we did it. So we just finished development for our easy and simplest API you ever needed. I hope this short tutorial will be helpful. And if we go just one by one, let's start from post. Just to review, blah blah blah, add tags, send. So added new thing. Then we're gonna do get all of them is here. Get by ID fifth also working. Patch, let's update fifth item, title 5, blah blah blah. Okay, also updated successfully, and let's delete the fifth item. Sends affected 1 and get all. No fifth item with ID 5. So we just did 5 APIs call, which you might need it in any kind of your project. We faced some issues, but it was connected to my mistakes, in which I forgot to add something or miss kind of return, so on and so on. I hope it was helpful. Keep in mind that we're gonna have one more video on this topic, at least one more. We're gonna work with connections, one-to-one, one-to-many, because we need to extend a bit our entities. So if you like the video, please put comments. It's really important for me to move on. It increase engagement. So please do this. Just simple blue sign hello in comments and I would be happy. Also, do not forget to subscribe and press the like button, and see you in the next episode. Bye bye.